Hello everyone, welcome back to the shop. Today is day 1 of rebuilding the differential. Really, when I think about it, it's like day 50 because we've been waiting on parts for so damn long, but the parts are in. We got all like $800 in parts because we decided, well, if we've got to tear the whole diff apart to replace one spacer, then we might as well replace everything in the diff and make it brand new. So we did a full restore, resurfacing, everything of the differential. There is like no original parts left. But the important thing is the spacer that was causing those spacing issues in the last couple videos, we got the correct one, we think, in. So in this video, we're gonna be installing that. We went and bought box. Yeah. We went and bought a race installing kit from Harbor Freight so we can install the races because we bought new bearings and new races. So we're gonna go ahead and install that, and then from there, just put it all back together, and then we will pray to whatever gods may be out there that this works, because if it doesn't, then damn. Damn. Alrighty, let's get into it. So to start off with, our spacer is underneath that bearing race. One of these guys, these are actually the wrong spacers, but the right spacer is down in there. So we just have to press that bearing race down with that kit we bought. We've got a tool shaped like this. It's just gonna pop, yep, nice and easy like that, down onto the bearing race there. And then we're just gonna hydraulic press it down and it'll work fine, God, I hope.
And then at that point, then we start assembling this pinion shaft with the bearings. This is the matching bearing to that race that's inside of there. This slides onto there. Then we got another bearing that slides on in the opposite direction. So after this gets done, then we'll start assembling the actual pinion shaft.
Okay, sweet. I'm not gonna film the bearing race pressing thing because lighting's bad in the other room, so we're just gonna jump straight to doing the shaft. Okie dokie, so that actually took way longer than anticipated. It's been like 2 weeks that we've been putting this off. We went ahead and installed the whole pinion shaft in the differential. We got the bearings pressed on there. That stuff's kind of boring. I didn't want to film it. So now the whole thing is installed and we're ready to set the bearing preload, or the pinion bearing preload, whatever you want to call it, I don't know. So essentially what that means is now that the pinion shaft is installed in the differential, there's bearings on either side of the differential housing pressing against each other, and you have to make sure that they're not pressing too hard against each other or too loose against each other. If they're too loose, it'll wiggle, which it does right now. If it's too tight, then the bearings will get hot when the differential's in the car and they'll explode and then everything breaks, and that's very bad. So the way you measure that is by taking an inch-pound torque wrench and spinning the pinion shaft from the top and seeing what the resistance is. And the resistance should be between 8 and 12 inch-pounds? Yeah. Roughly 8 and 12 inch-pounds. Currently it's at 0, because it's not tight at all. So what we're gonna do is periodically tighten that nut down and then test it to see how tight it's getting, and then stop between 8 and 12. Then that's when we'll know the pinion's good. And then the pinion should be done, and we can go on to the rest of the internals of the diff, and we'll actually be able to see if we've made any progress at all in changing the spacer or not. Okay, so as you could see before, this was jiggling up and down a bit. We actually needed to put it back in the hydraulic press and get it just a little bit tighter until it didn't jiggle anymore. Once we got it there, we just impacted the shit out of this nut and came over to our dial gauge, right? Okay, go ahead and give it a rotate, Shaw.
So imagine I'm pulling this way a little bit.
Just a little bit. There we go, and that's perfectly within our range. So you just want to turn it enough that it just barely wants to start turning, and that's how much resistance you have, and that is how you do
preload.
Preload, right. Fuck, I forgot what it was called. This has been awful. This has been like days and days and days of like research and putting it off and trying to figure it out, and it's finally done. So now that this is done, we can do the easy stuff, which is throwing everything else back in, which is easy only because we've done it a billion times already. So oh my god, guys, it's been another couple hours. We got it all put back together and it's still doing the sticking thing. So we did a little bit of research. Apparently there are also spacers on either side of the diff. So we went and got another tool, dial gauge, to go on the side, and we're gonna see what the measurements are there so that we can order new spacers for those, wait another 4 weeks for those to come in, and then the diff will be done. So I'm gonna put the camera down because I'm very sad. Flash cut, it's been another several hours and we've taken these off and apart to see what the spacer size is on these. This one exists. It's a real spacer size that Lexus sells. It's legitimate. This one is not. This one has fake numbers that Lexus doesn't sell and we don't know why. So That's not great. Also, Lexus has no information in the manuals online about the spacer size or how much the spacers were going to change the backlash in relation to what our backlash is. For example, we can't measure our backlash because it doesn't move at all, even a little bit. And I realize I just shook that without the things in the side, but with the things in the side, it does not move at all. It's just like stuck in there. So we're left guessing completely on what it's supposed to be, because typically you would measure your backlash, and based off your backlash, you would calculate what difference you would need in the spacers. Now, we wouldn't actually know anyways what the difference in spacers would be because Lexus doesn't give us that information, but we are shit out of luck anyways because we can't measure the backlash because it's basically a negative value or just straight zero because we can't get it to move. So we have to completely guess what spacers to buy. So we're playing Spacer Battleship, just completely guessing which ones we need to buy.
It's gonna work beautifully.
It's gonna work terribly. So we're just gonna guess completely which ones we need to buy them, and then wait like 4 weeks for them to come in. So we're gonna have another time cut because these videos are gonna take 8 years to come out. We're in the wrong lane, Zach.
You're also pulling out.
I'm going 9 miles an hour.
Drifting, baby.